Hi, this is almost everything you'll need to know about the brachial plexus. You'll be pleased to know that you already know everything you need to know, almost, about the brachial plexus. So in this session we won't cover any new material. We'll just be revising and solidifying our new knowledge, or your new knowledge. We'll do this by looking at some images and I'll talk through them, but before I name a structure I'll pause and you can pause the video and guess the structure yourself. Starting with this image of the chords of the brachial plexus and the formation of the major branches. The key here is to spot this V or Y-shaped formation over the anterior surface of the axillary artery, and the nerve so formed from two roots is the median nerve. We can see that it is formed by this lateral root and this median root of the median nerve, and they come from the respective chords. So this is the lateral chord and this is the medial chord. We can see the other major branches of these chords. So from the lateral chord, this nerve is the musculocutaneous nerve, and from the medial chord, this nerve, this other large nerve, the ulnar nerve. Looking at the posterior chord now, we see its two major branches. This one, which is essentially a continuation of the chord and continues to lie posterior to the artery for some way, is the radial nerve. And finally, this large branch, the other large branch of the posterior chord, is the axillary nerve. So we'll pick our way through this scary tangle. Again, we'll start by noting this structure, and this nerve that is formed is the median nerve. Here we see the musculocutaneous nerve and the ulnar nerve. This other long nerve that is coming from the medial chord and continues to follow the ulnar nerve to the arm and forearm is the medial cutaneous nerve of the forearm. So it's quite a large nerve, and it runs very close to the ulnar nerve because they're essentially both heading for the same place, which is the forearm. We've seen two of the three branches of the lateral chord here, so the final branch here is the lateral pectoral nerve, so it's seen heading towards the pectoral area, and we can spot the other two branches of the medial chord perhaps. So this smaller branch here is probably the medial cutaneous nerve of the arm. It could also be the intercostobrachial nerve, but we'll not mention that again. The final branch of the medial chord is this branch here, also heading for the pectoral region, and that will be the medial pectoral nerve. So those are all the branches from the medial and lateral chord. We can see this long branch which has arisen from the supraclavicular chord, plexus, and it's heading along the body wall, and that will be the long thoracic nerve. There's a very long nerve here, this time arising from the posterior chord, and that is the thoracodorsal nerve, the nerve that will innervate latissimus dorsi. We're seeing here perhaps this cheeky nerve, small nerve, again from the supraclavicular part that has ended up just beneath subclavius Oh, whoops. I mean the clavicle. This nerve, an important one from the superior trunk of the cord that will be heading down here and running through the suprascapular foramen, is the suprascapular nerve, and this nerve here arising from the C5 root of the cord is the dorsal scapular nerve. We can see the main branches of the posterior cord actually, now that I look carefully. This branch here just beneath the head of the humerus, if you're wondering what which will be running through a quadrangular space, is the axillary nerve again, and the large branch here angling behind the shaft of the humerus heading for a spiral groove is the radial nerve. In case you're wondering, this bad boy is the phrenic nerve, a nerve for a different time and place. Lastly, we'll get a look at some of the branches of the posterior cord, which we haven't seen very well. The nerve which continues to run posterior to the axillary artery, which is the radial nerve. Here a branch from the posterior cord that turns around the subscapular muscle and is again will be heading towards a quadrangular space here. On the other side of the artery is the axillary nerve, just pointing out some muscular features. Oh, this muscle here, broad muscle forming a ribbon like tendon that's wrapping around this other muscle, is latissimus dorsi, the muscle that is wrapping around here, forming the large portion of the posterior axillary fold, is teres major. I think I mentioned before that this large muscle that's clothing the costal surface of the scapula is subscapularis. Here we see the very characteristic serrations or digitations of serratus anterior. This muscle here, which is heading for the infraglenoid tubercle of the scapula, is the long head of triceps, and it's participating in forming a triangular space here, seen here with its upper border being the lower edge of the subscapularis muscle. This nerve, which is innervating latissimus dorsi, which is the thoracodorsal nerve. This nerve here, which is innervating the subscapularis muscle, is the upper subscapular nerve, and this nerve here that is also innervating subscapularis, continuing inferiorly to supply teres major, is the lower subscapular nerve. And once more we see this long, vulnerable to junior doctors with pointy sticks, nerve supplying serratus anterior, which is the long thoracic nerve. Hopefully I got all those right. We can see some of the branches of the radial nerve here arborating out to supply the long head of triceps. That's a bonus feature. And also this near our hook up here, we can see this nerve which is diving into coracobrachialis. So we can identify that just for fun as the musculocutaneous nerve. Its hallmark is to enter the medial surface of coracobrachialis. Anyway, that will be everything you need to know about the anatomy of the brachial plexus. If you managed to get through that and scored well, then congratulations. If not, you can always rewind and do it all again. The fun never stops. So good luck with that, and we'll talk in the next videos about the other contents of the axilla, which is basically this big artery here. And then we'll move on to the arm. Until then, enjoy the rest of your day.